Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Holistic Hatha Yoga. I am Kelsey, and I'm here to help guide us through this thing called life, Hatha Yoga style. So this week is a super fun episode. This is a first for us as we have a guest on the pod. Woot woot! It's very fun, very fun. This came together really well, really organically. And this was a really fun interview. I loved hearing this story. I loved hearing about this journey, and I think you will too. So, this week on the podcast, I talk with Dr. Rothschild, and he is a chiropractor in the United States and also a pioneer founder along the red light therapy means in the US. And so I have only heard a little bit about red light therapy prior to this conversation. So I learned so much as far as like the molecular, what's happening on a molecular level, how the red light therapy actually helps, and what it can be used for, and just all the wonderful things. I think my favorite thing about this, or one of my favorite things that I learned about this, was that there was like virtually no side effects whatsoever of doing red light therapy. So, like, even if it didn't totally fix whatever ailment, like, it's also not going to hurt it. And so, like, every little bit counts. And so, I found this to be a super interesting, holistic, natural remedy, and or not even remedy, almost like a I don't know, being proactive with your health, like if you're already feeling great, like if there's a red light therapy place near you, maybe doing like a session a week or something and see how you feel. Um this conversation definitely made me want to dive um into this, process a little bit more. Unfortunately for me, the closest one, like light bed, as far as like full body experience of red light therapy, is in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is a couple hours south from me. So not impossible by any means, but also not right down the street. But that also means that I should probably get one somewhere in this area because it's amazing, it's super helpful, and I can't wait for you to learn more about it in this episode. So enjoy my talk here with Dr. Carl. I hope you get as much fun and enjoyment and just like mind blowingness out of it as I did. And yeah, enjoy, friends. Um, so yeah, thank you for being on the podcast. I'm excited for you to be here. And yeah, if you could get us started and just let me know kind of what brought you into red light therapy, how you got onto that path, and yeah, just your journey along the way.
This whole thing started in 1972. So I was a junior at Stony Brook University, which is a very good school out in New York. And I was a science nut. I mean, I loved biology. I won a few awards. I was steeped in research. And it never translated to what I was going to do for the rest of my life until someone introduced me to something that is back then in 72 was about three notches below voodoo, and that's chiropractic. It wasn't well received back then, but it's got me interested. And I started contacting chiropractors all across the country, and what I found 100% of the time was that every one of them loved what they were doing. That's what I wanted. I wanted that. I wanted to have a career that I looked forward to, but also didn't want to have money as my focus. I don't mind making money, but if that's the thing that drives somebody, I believe that's not for me. What I love is helping people, and chiropractic did just that for me. In 1978, I became a chiropractor, and I had a lot of fun. I really did. And then about 20 years into my practice, and I had several practices also that I developed. So I really know how to build a practice. I know what it takes. And And about, as I said, 20 years into my practice, which was about 27, 28 years ago, I was introduced to red light therapy by a doctor I had known from the past who was he was really the pioneer in red light therapy for humans. It had been used in horses and stuff like that to some degree, but he's the one that got FDA clearance. His name was Chadwick Smith. Um, and he hands me this thing that looks like a flashlight. It's about this big along. And he said, come with me. We're going to save the world. And started using in my practice, but not before I thought in my mind that he's crazy. Yeah, I'm going to shine a flashlight on people and it's going to make a difference. And you know what? It did. I was actually able to help people with things that I never been able to help them with. I never even tried. I mean, kidney problems, gum disease, any musculoskeletal problem, obviously, just tons, kidney issues, whatever it was. I had really fun time with it, knowing one thing most importantly is that at the worst, nothing happens. In other words, there's never been a recorded side effect. You couldn't hurt somebody with this stuff if you tried. And I loved it. I was having a lot of
Okay.
fun with it. And then about 15 something years ago, it was discovered that there was an element of red light, only red light. In other words, people play with all these different colors, and we've been studying them as well. And I've done all the research. I wrote the book, which I'll talk about a little bit more in detail later. It's
Yeah.
called Illuminated Healing. It's the most up-to-date book on the subject of red light therapy. I don't make a dime, so if you go to Amazon, put in Illuminated Healing. If you get the book, if you want to be an expert in red light, or at least know more about red light therapy, that's the
Definitely.
route I would suggest going. But at any rate, there I am introduced to red light as a way of helping people lose weight. And if you don't know that yet, I'm going to tell you that there's almost nothing bigger in the healing world, in the natural healing world, than weight loss. That's what people want more, sometimes in some ways more than anything. When you talk to any of our marketing companies, they all say the same thing. Doesn't matter what we market, whether it's, helping you with neuropathy, back, any aches and pains and all that stuff. Nothing seems to drive more people into a facility than weight loss. Imagine weight loss, that's all natural. There's nothing, you're not with the other types of what they call non-invasive therapies that for fat loss are about destroying fat cells. So that's freezing the fat, boiling the fat, lasering the fat, of course, liposuction. It's radio frequency and ultrasonic cavitation. All of those are about destroying fat cells. And that's not what we're about. I'm a chiropractor. I'm not interested in damaging essential tissue. Fat cells just have a bad name, but they're very important more than just storing fat. They store other things. They're involved also with stem cell production, hormone production. You don't want to kill them off. By the way, whatever fat cells you have when you're an adult are the same ones you die with. You don't grow new fat cells. So when someone gains weight, the fat cells they have just become more engorged.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the beauty of this notion that you could use red light to help and assist with fat loss was wonderful. So I got into this even bigger, started manufacturing, and we did very well. We wanted to create the best, and at the time we were creating the best for fat loss. And there were pads and lasers and panels and all this stuff. There was also for healing as well. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing that took us to the other level was the fat loss. And
Right.
then we went along, everything's great. And then COVID hit. And our practitioners wanted a way of treating the person with less physical contact between themselves and the patient. So we developed a bed, and the person can get in and out of bed themselves. You don't need staff for this, except for the first session where you kind of tell them how. Yeah, it's not difficult.
Right.
You see this finger here? You press the on button, get in the bed, get out of the bed, get out of the office. That's it. That's how simple it is. So it's a very simple procedure. And so we created the bed. We started shipping them out, almost immediately when COVID hit. We started getting that interest. It didn't take us long to come up with this. So maybe 6 months into COVID, we had started shipping out beds. And what shocked us were the kind of results that really, I'll say the word surprised us. What surprised us was the kind of results that we're seeing that went way beyond our hopes and dreams. We were just creating the bed as a poor substitute, in a sense, of what we had already been producing. And what it turned out, and what we've since learned, is that when you bathe the whole body at the same time, from head to toe, when you bathe the whole body, affecting as many tissues as possible, front and back, left and right, as I said, head to toe, and inside and out, and driving much of this energy into as many tissues and cells of the body, that's when the miracles happen. I want to give you an example of a miracle. You to see if you agree with me.
Hmm.
There's a guy, he was dying. He was having a heart attack once, if not twice a week. I'd never heard of it before. When it started out, let's say that was about 13 years ago. Well, actually 15 years ago, he started having really bad congestive heart failure. About 13 years ago, he started having heart attacks once a month. And so to help him, they implanted a defibrillator in his chest. They didn't have an answer other than that. So every time he would die, it would zap him back to life.
Hmm.
But by the time we meet him, it's once or twice a week. And he's suffering tremendously. Every organ, every gland, every tissue in his body was struggling tremendously. He had no energy. He had just so many different complaints. And I'm going to send you these videos that you're welcome to share with your audience. These are testimonial videos that are, I don't know, they're very striking to me. Remember, I started in 72 wanting to help as many people as I possibly can. And what we're hearing more than ever is the phrase or some version of this, which is, thank you for giving me my life back. I mean, God, that was what I wanted. That's what it was all about.
Right.
So here he is. I told the practitioner, let's just treat him for 5 minutes, because the practitioner was very nervous. He said, I don't want him having a heart attack, Mom. Let's treat him for 5 minutes, and that's the first visit. And the patient goes home that night after just a 5-minute treatment. Now, normally a treatment's 12 minutes. And that was almost 2 years ago, around 2 years ago. And he's had more treatment, but he's never had a heart attack since. Hundreds of heart attacks, no more heart attack. Dying, and now quite the opposite. Everything has come back to life. And when you watch the video, one of the things he said, it's just a minute and a half or less video. And in that video, he essentially says that what he didn't expect is that his energy would be absolutely through the roof. And he loved it. He loves it. And again, that's all part of it. Thank you for giving me my life back. And we've got dozens of these kinds of stories and tales. I mean, literally hundreds, but I can't get everybody to. Some people are shy. Some people won't come
Right.
to need to Zoom with them and get them on tape. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun with this. So there we are, creating the bed.
Yeah.
And we've now created version. We just came out with version. I would think if you add it up to about version 9 on the bed, because we kept wanting to make it stronger, better, more effective.
Right.
So there you are with fat loss. If I may, I just want to tell people how the fat loss works real quick.
Yeah. I would love to know, like on a cellular level, how that works.
Well,
That,
there's two absolutely different mechanisms. One of them is fat loss, and that was only discovered, I think it said about, let's say 15 years ago or less.
hmm.
And that was by accident, of course, discovered that red and only red, no other color, and nothing else, red light
Hmm.
changes the cells, the fat cell walls, to become more porous, only temporarily. It doesn't damage anything, it doesn't injure anything. And within a few hours, those cells come back to normal. But in the interim, when the cell walls become more porous, it allows some of the contents to leak out into the surrounding tissue. And with our unique protocol, we move the fat away from the fat cells and eventually to the liver for use or elimination. And it took them a long time to figure out how this worked.
Hmm.
Originally, they thought it melted the fat, all kinds of different things. You'll still see different reports and stuff talking about, even if you go to ChatGPT,
Hmm.
some of the reports tell you that it melts the fat or emulsifies the fat. That's not what happened. So at any rate,
Okay.
there we are with fat loss.
Hmm.
Now
And no
the
other light color. No other light color.
no
Only
other color.
red.
Now
Okay.
we do integrate near infrared with this as well. So before I go further, let's talk about the word red and near infrared and far infrared. There's a word infrared that many of you have heard of. but there's no such thing as just infrared. It's either far infrared, which is what 99% of the people, when they talk about infrared, they're talking about far infrared. Far infrared saunas, far infrared beds, far infrared tables, far infrared pads, far
Okay.
infrared toasters. Those are about heat. It's just a different way of generating heat. And heat doesn't do much more than just heat.
Right.
Now, there's another element of infrared called near infrared. And that's the miracle wavelength or wavelengths within that range of near infrared. Now, near infrared actually is what changes the cells to come back to life. And I'm going to go over that in just a moment. But I
Mhm.
wanted you to understand the difference between the word far infrared and near infrared.
Right.
And so we incorporate red and near infrared in all of our equipment because the red's great for fat loss and some healing. The near infrared is great to tighten the skin. So if someone's trying to lose weight, you will never see sagging skin, no stretch mark, because the near infrared will tighten that skin and get rid of fine lines and wrinkles, and it just looks gorgeous. In fact, the reason why we called our bed the Tri trifecta is
Mhm.
the triple effect of face or skin in general, but face, fine lines and wrinkles, they're going to fade. Uh, Fat loss, which we talked about, and healing. Those three things created the trifecta. One of our staff members said, it's like winning the trifecta at the horse race, at the racetrack.
Right.
And said, okay, well, to that point, our name was different. So we came up with the trifecta for one of our models, and people liked that so much, we just stuck with it for the company name. And so the company is now Trifecta Line. At any rate, that's a little bit about how the fat loss works. And I'm going to talk to you more in detail about how the healing works, which is to me, that's what I started out at, being a healer, and that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
So seeing what near infrared can do will blow your mind. But I just want to talk about a couple of things. I'm going to challenge everybody that's listening to the following. You are no longer allowed to complain unless you use this bed 6 times. Six,
Okay.
six. And I'm not in practice, so I'm not inviting you here. I don't have any financial investment here, but I do, and I told you before, I love healing people. I love helping people. And if you're struggling, if you have any ailment, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's Parkinson's or dementia or diabetes. I don't care if it's Alzheimer's or multiple sclerosis or autoimmune, any autoimmune, including, I mean, we had one guy, he had Charcot-Marie tooth disease. It's 3 different famous people that put their name on this dumb disease. And it guaranteed this one guy no walking for 15 years because it was too painful. And he was in pain every day, 15 years. And after
Wow.
6 visits of using the bed, and when you watch the videos, his name is Joey. Watch Joey's video.
Uh-huh.
And he was one of the first ones that said, thank you for giving me my life back. And
Wow.
he's treadmill, bicycle, walking his dog for the first time ever. I mean, it really, truly, totally changed his life. We're not making nice here. This is not like, well, maybe, maybe not. This is a guarantee pretty much. I can't literally give a guarantee, but we have
Right.
hardly ever seen anyone we couldn't help. Then we talked about diabetes or people needing less insulin. I already talked about heart issues. How about Lyme disease? We have a guy named Steve who had contracted Lyme disease when he was 12,
Mhm.
and it ruined his life. I mean, he could not, it ruined his childhood, his social life, his education. And of course, he couldn't have a career because there were days when he wasn't sure he was going to be able to get out of bed.
Mhm.
Just going from his car to his apartment was such a struggle. Sometimes he had good days, but his good day was still lousy, but he had lousy days and even worse days. Let's put it that way. And then he uses our bed, and I'm not going to tell you what happened, but I want you all to watch that video. His name is Steve. And tell me if, when you watch that video, and you know what a nut I am, that I want to help people, tell me if you would not get goosebumps when you hear these kind of reports. Like we talked to Jessica, who had 16 very serious problems. She spent a goodly part of her life going from doctor to doctor, taking drugs, injections. One of the things she had of the 16 was uveitis. Now, uveitis meant she had pressure in one eye, which was normally should be 10, and hers was or close to 10, and the pressure in that one eye was over 180. And the
Wow.
only treatment that they had for her was an injection right into her eye. That was the only thing they had. Once a month, at billed the insurance at
Oh,
$5,000 a shot, she would get an injection right in her eye once a month. So when you watch that
that's
video, you'll
awful.
see what a silly guy I am when I said, "Well, what's that like?" It's like it was no picnic. So listen to how she responds to that. And after 2 weeks, she didn't need the injections any longer, and all her other 15 issues are gone. Everything. The
Wow.
few forms of psoriasis, her psoriasis was so bad that she had constant bleeding in both ears,
Uh,
red and bleeding, and her forehead rashes down both of her arms. The psoriasis was horrible. But she also had psoriatic arthritis, which meant that some mornings she would wake up with what's called dactylitis. And dactylitis means that her toes, when she woke up in the morning, were black and blue, swollen, and extremely painful. And after 2 visits, that stopped. After 2 treatments, that stopped completely.
and you
Now,
said it,
sometimes it takes more than that. But
said
let me
it
get back to my challenge to all of you. Try it 6 times. And I'm going to show you how you can find a location closest to you. Again, I'm
the
not impressed.
treatment is what? Like you said 12 minutes?
12 minutes.
12 minutes is like a normal? Okay. So 12
You
minutes
get in,
6 times.
get out of bed. That's how simple it is. And it's comfortable. It doesn't get hot. Um, it's not noise. I mean, usually there's a music that's playing, and it's hard to fall asleep in 12 minutes, but I'm hearing that happens quite a bit. Again, I'm not in practice, but I'm just living vicariously off of the information that my practitioners are giving me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I want you to go to the website, trifectalight.com.
Okay.
And when you go to trifectalight.com, there's a contact us page. And on the left side of that page will give you an opportunity to find a location closest to you.
Perfect.
We will find a closest location we can. Now, some areas are, if you're in a very rural area, I don't know if we'll find a close location right next to you. But I'm telling you, if you want to experience a change in your life, whether it's, like I'd already mentioned, it could be neuropathy, any musculoskeletal problems, any skin issues. I don't care what it is. We had this one lady that had more than one, but one in particular, she had Parkinson's. And her biggest disability, if you want to call it that, or handicap, was the fact that she couldn't go to church. She was uncomfortable going to church because she couldn't hold the Bible. Because the
Oh.
tremors that she had were so severe that she couldn't hold the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And after 2 weeks, she still had tremors, but they were so mild that she was easily able to hold the Bible
Wow. All just from the light. Just from the light therapy.
from the right.
That
Now, again, that's a
that
good point.
yeah.
You know, life is not just about the light, but it's an amazing thing to add. But if you're screwing up your life in other ways, that's not great either. So there are 3 components here. The light is really important. I'm a healer. I'm not interested in one thing when the person goes home and screws it
Right.
up with all the other things in their life.
Right.
So it's
Right.
smart consumption is one thing. That means what you eat and what you drink.
Mm-hmm.
Smart consumption. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
Smart exercise. Your body is like a boat. And if you let the boat just sit there on the dock, it's going to create particles and it's going to start to rot. A boat is meant to move, and you are meant to move. And what they have found is that if you just do 30 minutes 3 times a week of cardiovascular exercise, which gets your heart beating to a certain amount, but at the same time moving as many muscles as possible. So that's treadmill or running. The reason why I'm nervous about running for some people is it's high impact, and we wind up with people with back issues, elbow, knee, and whatever. The reason why they came out with these other things like the elliptical and even treadmill, because it's softer on the body. You want to try to do this. It's not about how you exercise this week or next. It's about the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
I liken well-being and health to a candle that burns really bright, right from the beginning, all the ways down to the bottom, and then sputters out and dies. That's how it should go. But that's
Right.
not how it actually goes. Most people spend the last, let's say, 10 or 15 years of their life not doing so well.
Mhm.
They're not, the reason why our convalescent homes and senior living centers are so busy is because most people can't, at a certain point, take care of themselves anymore. They can't feed themselves, they can't wash themselves, and they can't even wipe themselves. And I don't want that. I don't want that for myself. I'm 73 years old and I exercise 3 times a week minimum. I use the bed, of course, 2 or 3 times a week.
Mhm.
And I'm very careful with my eating. So I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke, never have. I don't. And the reason I take care of myself is because I'm scared of what the consequences of many of my patients that would come in that they didn't take care of themselves. And I wouldn't say this out loud, but to myself, I would think, please God, don't let me wind up like that.
Oof, right, right.
And the reason people aren't taking care of themselves is they're not scared enough. They can't hear their 75, 80-year-old self going, please stop doing the stupid things you're doing. Because yes, you're having fun today. People equate because of the television commercials and stuff that show, drinking, all that's so great. They're equating, that fun and not thinking about their future. I'm living for today. Well, no, you're not.
Right.
That's like saying I'm investing just for today. No, you're not. You're investing in financially as well as your health for the rest of your life. What kind of life are you going to have later on? Well, anyhow,
Right.
and another thing is people don't realize how expensive it is to be sick. They have no clue unless they've been sick. How
Mhm.
expensive it is to be hospitalized. How expensive it is the drugs. There are drugs out there that are tens of thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah, and come with a whole list of side effects that get you on other drugs that give
Right.
you other issues. Yeah. It's
Listen, we're not against drugs. We're against the
Mhm.
use, the way it's being used.
Yeah,
It
right.
shouldn't be the first resort. It should be perhaps a second or third or fourth resort. Try
Right.
something, unless it's an emergency, try
Right.
something more natural first. Red
Mhm.
light therapy is as natural as you come. So let's go back to the website and then I'm going to teach you and tell you guys how this works and how amazing this thing is.
Yeah,
How
so that's how we can
simple.
kind of start if we want to go test this out ourselves. Go to the Trifecta
You go to
website
the website,
and
find the
find the
location.
location
I
closest to
just need
you.
6 visits.
Okay.
Um, and frequently
Six.
you'll see something even sooner than 6, but give it
Mhm.
6 visits.
Mhm.
And at the end, have a sit down with your practitioner and say, hey, this is where I was when I started. This is where I am now. And I'm liking what I see. So this is, let's proceed. Normally, what I would then suggest is that you put yourself on a monthly program until you reach the target. And that's a conversation you would have with your practitioner.
Mhm.
So the other thing that so the other thing is on that same contact us page on the right side,
Mhm.
there are some of you that it would be wise for you to invest in something like this. It costs
Okay.
about $50 a day. There are two models. There's a $35 a day model and a $50 a day model. The
Mhm.
$50 a day model is more robust. It's larger. It's a little bit stronger. The effects are even more amazing. And that's the business model.
Mhm.
And nobody's making less than 10 times return on investment, which is
Right.
pretty good return, right?
Mhm.
And so you are going to see people, you're going to line up to get on the bed in your facility. I've never had people, one thing you learn as a chiropractor, and chiropractors know this better than maybe any other health practitioners, but build their own practice because we had to, is that it's not satisfied patients that are going to build your practice. It's excited patients. And the way to get excited people is using this red light bed. I've never seen it as much. So on this hand, the guy can't walk, and now he's walking. There's excitement there. And this guy had Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. That guaranteed him to go blind. He was going blind.
Mhm.
So what do you have to lose, right? He gets in our bed, and after a relatively short period of time, what we were able to do is to halt the progression of his blindness. So the sight that he's lost up to that point, we're probably not going to be able to grow that back.
Right.
But he's not going to be totally blind. He's thrilled. And
Right.
that same thing is the same story about multiple sclerosis. Halting the progression. The damage that's already been done, I don't know if we're going to be able to undo that.
Mhm.
But imagine halting the progression and get rid of many of the symptoms that are associated with the MS.
Well, and even just using it as a preventative care so that you don't end up with any of these things.
I don't even want to go there for a second. I'll tell you why. I've been a chiropractor for thousands of years, feels like a long time.
Uh-huh.
And
What do
we've
you mean?
always wanted people to come in. You know, I would teach my patients, I say, look, we're going to get you through this, whatever you're going through. And when we reach your maximum, we're going to put you on a maintenance program. And the maintenance program is let's say 1 or 2 times a month. You're going to come in. And what I want to hear from you is, hey, doc, I feel great. And I want to stay that way. And that's why they're still coming in, even though they feel great. But that's not what this country's about. Every
Yeah,
commercial on television, it's not about, hey, you feel great? Come on in, we're going to keep you that way. That's not what it's about.
all reacting to
Listen,
pain. Yeah.
healthy people don't make the medical profession a dime. Nobody makes money with healthy people. They make it, they hope and wait until you're half dead. That's where the money is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to
100%.
give them my money.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
doing the best I can. And I suggest the same for
Yeah.
you guys. Do the best you can. So on that right side of the contact us page is an opportunity for you to just find out, does this make sense to incorporate at $50 a day, incorporate it into your business?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about, I mean, you can create a whole new business just with that, and that works fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit more difficult. If you already have traffic, it's about traffic. If you already have traffic
Right.
coming in for your hair,
Mm-hmm.
your esthetician, your chiropractor, naturopath, acupuncture, whatever, you already have traffic, moving them onto the bed is a very simple thing. And
Oh, yeah.
we teach people about when people get our bed, we include 32 things with the purchase. And that includes teaching them all kinds of videos and all kinds of stuff about open houses. We also assign a coach, a business coach to the process. So we give you no possibility of not being highly successful. So
Right.
now let's go over how this works. This is the healing aspect. We talked about fat loss, and that's pretty simple. Now let's talk about the healing aspect. Remember, I already reviewed with you about infrared. There's the far infrared, which is just about heat, and that's it. And then there's near infrared, which we used to call cold. So if you ever heard about cold laser, cold therapy,
Mhm.
that's near infrared, and it
That
doesn't get hot. Heat is the enemy when it comes to this type of therapy that I'm describing.
I was gonna ask if it gets warm in those beds or not, or if it's cold temperature wise, but
It
yeah.
will get it'll get comfortably warm is the way I describe it.
Okay. But not like a
If
tanning
you,
bed where you're like sweating.
I've never been in a thing, but yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Um, I
Okay.
got the reason why tanning beds were so easily able to move over to what we're doing
Mhm.
and red light is because they were struggling because of all the
Oh,
things that people hear about the problems with tanning bed.
yes, for sure.
I would,
I did many, many moons ago, probably 2 decades, but yes, I haven't been in a tanning bed in a very long time. But that's like the
no
last time I've
judgment
been
here.
in
I don't
a
care.
type of light bed. But yeah, so go on. Okay, so how it does the
So
healing
let
aspect
me tell you
then.
why heat is the enemy, and then I'll go over
Yeah.
the healing aspect. Heat, when I take a heat pack off someone's back,
Mhm.
it's bright red underneath there because the blood has been attracted to the surface of the body. And that's not what you want. If you get that, that blocks the penetration of the light. So if the bed gets hot or whatever equipment you use gets hot, it's self-defeating.
I
That's the
see.
last thing you want.
I
And what
see.
makes the difference between a high-end medical grade device like ours and others has to do with the kind of lights that we use. And our lights are the medical grade lights that are very strong but don't get hot. That's
Okay.
always been our limiting factor. So 28 years ago, our first device, which was literally thousands of times weaker than what we have now, but the limiting factor was heat. We know that if it gets hot, it's going to be self-defeating. It's going to block the penetration of light. So that's why we used to call it cold laser. You don't hear that phrase as much now, except for lasers, but with the bed, it's literally also should be cool or
Okay.
comfortably warm, as I described it.
Right.
If the bed is getting hot, then you know that this is an inferior device. And that's the
Yeah.
biggest problem in the world. Our biggest competitor is China. coming out with knockoff versions that are, quite frankly, junk. And they kind of work. That's the problem with red light therapy. And it's good news and bad news. Red light therapy, even a crappy piece of equipment,
Mhm.
red light therapy, it'll still do something. That's the beauty of red light therapy. But if
Right.
you're creating this for your business, you want the best. You want the top of the line piece of equipment that will be unbelievable with its results and success.
Hmm.
So now let's talk about, so we talked about trying to get lights that are very strong without heat. But let's talk about how this works. So another word that I'm going to teach you is called mitochondria, but we'll come to that. Many of you heard that word, but there's
Powerhouse.
something you probably don't know about mitochondria that I'm going to get to. And yes, you were going to say the powerhouse of
The
the body. Yeah,
powerhouse of the cell. Yes,
right.
indeed. I do love biology and cellular structure, but so this will be fun. Very fun.
So, so now we've heard that word mitochondria. But let's first talk about the fact that your body is made up of tissues, and all your tissues are made up of cells, and every cell has components. Every cell, your body's made up of cells, and every cell has components. They have a nucleus, and in particular, they have a mitochondria. And as you said, that's the powerhouse of the cell, and literally, really the powerhouse of the body. It's the reason why you breathe oxygen and eat food. Because by eating that food and breathing that oxygen, you generate a very important molecule called ATP. It's the energy currency of the body. It's the whole reason that you function. And if you have the right amount of ATP production in your body, you're good.
Right.
There's a reason why you can have a room filled with people and every one of them gets equally exposed to COVID. And some succumb
Hmm.
and some don't. Well, why is that? It's your underlying well-being has to do with ATP production, mitochondrial activity. There are other factors obviously involved, but this is the critical one.
Right. Right.
And when I used to teach a class, which is, I'm almost sorry I tried to teach this class because I didn't have the skills to put up with the kind of questions that came my way. But the essence of the class was that only sick people get sick and healthy people stay well. And
Mm.
that is sort of true,
Right.
but
Like, yes and no. But yeah. Yeah.
here's
Um,
the bottom line is that the truth is that sick people get really sick, exposed to the same thing. Whereas a healthy person might get sick, but they won't, be a mild cold instead of
right.
dying.
Right.
And so your goal
Very
in
true.
life is to try to stay as healthy as you can.
Hmm.
And when I would teach my patients, it wasn't just about how we adjust them or how they sit. It was about sitting, standing, sleeping, beds, pillows, chairs, car seats, shoes, everything.
Right.
And you don't have to do everything, but then don't be surprised later on in your life that you're not doing well.
Right.
You want to make sure you sleep perfectly, that you sit on the right chair, whatever you do a lot of, you should make sure that you have the best equipment and learn how to use that equipment. Just like if you were an Olympic athlete, they
Hmm.
would learn how to use whatever equipment they need to have, and they would learn how to use it perfectly. I suggest you do the same. And with the videos that I'm going to send you, if you look and see the pages in there, one of them has how to sit, how to stand, how to sleep. A whole videos on that stuff.
Nice.
Whatever. So
Yeah.
let's get back to
Posture is
mitochondria.
everything.
So let's get back to mitochondria. So there
Yeah.
we are with what's called dysfunctional mitochondria or mitochondrial dysfunction. There's a book on it. There are diseases called mitochondrial dysfunction. And this is where the mitochondria is not doing its job and the ATP production is way down. And the person will eventually succumb. You'll lead to disease and eventually death. And this light therapy that I'm describing to you will reverse that. Or as you had said, not maintain it. So I don't have an ailment particularly, but
Mhm.
I'm still know that what I don't want is to be sickly and be an invalid. So I use the bed at least a couple of times, if not more, a week because I want to maintain and sustain my well-being and health. But I
Right.
also exercise and I eat smart and all that stuff. So at any rate, let's talk about how can we do well for our mitochondria. And you know what it's all about? The sun. It's about the
Mm.
sun. The lights that we use, the red and near infrared,
Mhm.
are elements of sunlight. Now, there are other people, because they know they can't compete with us, because we own the top of the line research on the lights, they come out with all these other gimmicks. different colors, different junk. It's red and near infrared, and that's it.
Okay.
So yes, green and blue have different features, but if I could put any color in these beds. But if I pull out my glorious lights and stick in there a green and red, or I mean a green or a blue, because somebody thinks that they need that, they don't need it because our red and near infrared does all of that and more. It
Right.
has to do with being a germ. It has to do with acne. It has to do with other like skin. But our red and near infrared does all of that and much better. So moving right along. So how does this all work? You got sunlight, but sunlight is like a tickle when you need something much more powerful to make the changes in your body. So what we've done is we've taken those 4 elements of sunlight, 2 elements of red, different elements of near infrared, integrate them, combine them together, magnify them many, many times, and then drive it deep into the person's body. And in the
Okay.
50 years that they've studied this technology, there has never been a side effect. You couldn't hurt somebody if you tried. And somebody's then going to ask me about contraindications. In other words, who should or should not use the bed.
Right.
And you can get in the bed. I already described this guy that had the defibrillator in his chest. So you can get in it with electronics, like a pacemaker or anything like that. They're not contraindicated. You can get
Okay.
in there with metal. You could have just had a shoulder replacement. You can get in the bed. You could have just had staples. You can get in the bed. None of those are contraindicated. There are no real contraindications, but there are 2 legal contraindications. One of them is a pregnant woman. If that baby is destined to come out abnormal, having nothing to do with our lights or anything else, or maybe something else, but we know the lights are actually helpful for the mother and fetus. But if that baby comes out abnormal, that couple become the part of a community that is the most litigious on the planet. And they're going to want to sue everybody that's in the neighborhood. And I just tell people, let's not be in that neighborhood. And the other contraindication is cancer. In other countries where they don't have as many attorneys, they use the lights for cancer. But in this country, since there are more attorneys than we need, and these attorneys are going to want to find something to sue you for, I just tell them, you know what? You got a million other things you can help people with. Let's not do cancer. Because cancer is like a garden that likes to grow little things or anywhere on your body, having nothing to do with what we're doing, and they want to blame somebody. So we kind of say, well, let's stay away from both of those things.
Right.
So those are the 2 contraindications. Let's get back to the mitochondria. What they have found is that these 4 elements of light that I just described will stimulate the mitochondria to come back to health. And it does it, just to complicate things a little bit more, by stimulating an enzyme that is inside the mitochondria called cytochrome C oxidase. Don't
Okay.
have to write it down. You don't have to be an expert at this.
Mm.
I'm just telling you because somebody out there is going to be going, what about cytochrome C oxidase?
Right.
All right, well, we talked about it. So cytochrome C oxidase, which is an enzyme,
Uh-huh.
has been shown to be a chromophore. Now, a chromophore, things that are affected by sunlight. Not everything in your body is affected by sunlight, but the
Okay.
chromophores are. So how you get vitamin D?
Mhm.
Chromophore. How do you get the stimulate the mitochondria? Actually, it's the chromophore, cytochrome C oxidase. That cytochrome C oxidase stimulates the mitochondria to come back to health. And now you have somebody that conceivably, every cell in their body is functioning perfectly.
Right. Or
And so
definitely at a higher level.
the notion is that as you get older, you're going to be guaranteed to have a dysfunctional mitochondrial system. And now we know that's not necessarily true. It's better not to get older. Listen, if any of you out there can stop getting older, that's highly recommended. But I
Mhm.
don't know how to do that. And so what I teach my patients, and I'm telling all of you, try to do it more gracefully. Try to do it better. You're going to get older, but you want to go out just like that candle I described before. So
Right.
we talked about the method of how fat loss works. We just described how the method of how the mitochondria is affected by this sunlight. And so that's why some of you, very highly analytical people, are going to go, this sounds like snake oil. It can't possibly. Or the psychologist. I have the hardest time with mental health practitioners because they all to the person say, it's a placebo effect. I'm like, okay, fine. You tell Arnett that was having a heart attack twice a week that it was all in his head.
Right.
Okay, you call him up, tell him that, and he'll tell
Mm-hmm.
you you're crazy. But
Right.
it it sounds like snake oil, meaning that it affects everything, it helps everything. That sounds crazy. So I
Uh-huh.
apologize because it does.
Right.
Even even the brain. We had a
You,
lady that, and this is not uncommon. We'll hear about PTSD. We'll hear about brain BTI, brain trauma, injuries, all that kind of stuff. And using the light will help tremendously. So the reason why we're with the NBA, the reason why we're with Olympic training centers, the reason why we're with other very high-end athletic facilities, is because if an athlete gets in the bed before their activity, they're going to perform better. And if the guy next to them, who they usually neck and neck, when they're running, whatever, now you're using the bed and he's not, you're going to win. You're going to win. You're going to jump higher. You're going to have more stamina. I have a guy that called me and said, look, I've been swimming very seriously for years, and I can now swim twice the distance I used to be able to swim because of that red light bed. Did I
wow.
know that was going to happen? Not really. But we're
Right.
learning all these wonderful things that can happen. No side effects, and essentially barely any contraindication. Yes, I'm
Right.
having.
Yes, I'm having fun. Yeah, that sounds like me when I talk about yoga. I'm like, it can help everybody. Anyone can benefit from this. But it's excellent when there are things out there that is so natural. I love that it is like emulating the sunlight in that it's actually like kind of almost like concentrated sunlight, that is doing that healing
Exactly.
on a full on like cellular level. And that's just amazing because light
But when
knows
I
no
say
boundaries.
sunlight, I do want to make sure you understand none
Not
of the
like
negative,
UV. Right,
not
exactly.
UV and other things. Good.
Right. But certain aspects of it that are
Yeah.
not harmful, that are not harmful. That is just, yeah, that's absolutely amazing.
So what's the
Um,
damage if you try it 6 times? Try it.
right,
And
right.
then what I want you to do is go back to the website and go to the contact us page and send us a note of how those 6 visits went for you. And you know
Yeah,
what I get across the board? Glorious. And again, as I had said, it's not satisfied patients that refer, it's excited patients that refer. So I was talking to this lady who couldn't stop talking about how great her experience was with the bed. And she said, and by the way, I referred 18 people to the office where I'm going. Because that's what
yes,
happens. You can't shut up about it. I can't shut up about it. My
right.
wife will have to say, look, at tonight, honey, this is a serious event we're going to with the family. Could you just not talk about red light therapy tonight? And I go,
That's
"No,
awesome.
darling, I will not." And then 2 seats over, there's this guy who's clearly struggling in his life. I mean, he's not doing well. And
And
what am I
then you
supposed
bring
to
it up
do? I'm
to,
not supposed to say anything. And I do. I said, I tell his wife who's trying to take care of this guy, I said, just try it 6 times. We have an office close to where you guys live. See, what's the worst that'll happen is nothing.
yeah,
And that
right.
very rarely happens.
Yeah. And where are you based out of?
I'm outside of Los Angeles in Bel Air,
Oh, okay.
but that has nothing to do with it. I'm not in
Yeah.
practice, so we have hundreds of offices all over the country. So when you
Okay.
go to the trifectalight.com website, go to the contact us page on the left side, fill out location, and we'll find the closest location to you.
Yeah, I am very excited to try this. That sounds amazing. That is amazing. So great. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And what is your book called again? I would love to know more about that too.
It's called Illuminated Healing.
Illuminated Healing, and you said we could just look at on Amazon or
Yeah,
anywhere we
you can
find.
get it as a book. I'm going to be sending you the show notes, which will include information about the book. I'll
Yep.
also send you the digital brochure, which has all the information, all the videos. Our YouTube channel is awesome.
Oh,
And so
perfect.
when you get the digital brochure, you just click on it. It'll take you right to the YouTube channel. If you don't want to
Cool.
wait, you can just go to YouTube, put in the @ sign, and then Trifecta Light Official. And there are over 150, maybe 160 videos, and they're great. They're really good ones. We just
Amazing.
did one with Dr. Bayer, and he just couldn't stop talking about how it has totally revolutionized his practice. So at
Excellent.
any rate, but I'll send you those show notes, including the digital brochure and other things, the wonderful videos that I have. And by the way, when we talk about the videos, some of you know about Excel spreadsheets that you can have more than one page within the spreadsheet. So look
Right.
for the multiple pages because on the bottom it'll say patients, then providers, then miscellaneous, and then educational. Under the educational is where I have the sitting, standing, sleeping videos. But the patient one's great. If you're thinking about incorporating the esteemed business, watch these videos that these practitioners are talking about. And across the board, they absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
We're about
Excellent.
to deliver a bed to a pretty famous NBA basketball star. His name is Chris Paul. And he has tried many different, he gets exposed to a lot of people wanting him to use their equipment. And he has selected us because he knows ours is the absolute best.
That's amazing. So cool. So cool. I can't wait to try it. And yeah, I hope anyone who's listening is excited to try it too. Yeah, if you haven't given it a shot yet. So thank you so much. I
My
appreciate it.
pleasure.
I feel like I learned so much about this. And yeah, I'm just gonna have to spread the good word.
I
Spread the
appreciate
good
that.
word.
And as I said, I'm not in practice, but my goal is to help as many of you out there as possible.
That's
Give
amazing.
us that chance. And another thing I want to tell you is the worse off you are, the more dramatic the change typically is. So if you feel great, I don't know if you're going to see a difference. But if you're a mess, the
Yeah.
messier you are, the better. I want to say the harder you fall, but that's not the right term. It's just the better response we'll see. It's just
Right, you'll
incredible.
see that result faster, but still
Yeah, but
excellent.
also it's more dramatic. All right,
Right.
listen, it's been a real pleasure. I'm
Yeah.
glad we had this opportunity, and you take care, all right?
Thank you
Everybody
so
take care.
much. Yeah, you
Bye bye.
too. Thank you, Dr. Carl. Talk
Bye.
soon. All right. So, yeah, there you have it, friends. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I feel like I learned so much. I was so happy to just like really dive into the science of it all and realize just how amazing this world is. I really enjoyed the idea that like the red light is like or the near infrared light and stuff is like a facet of basically we're mocking sunlight in a way. And so I just love like the natural holistic viewpoint of it all. And yeah, I just thought that was so fun. So if you try red light therapy, after this, please do let me know. I did go to a spa recently and did a whole massage and steam sauna and infrared sauna and this whole thing. And it was amazing. Don't get me wrong, but the entire time I was there, I was like, you know what would make this spa better? Like a 10-minute session in a red light therapy bed. That's what. And so I may or may not email that spot and be like, hey, what's the odds of getting you a bed? Because this would be amazing. So let me know if you do try it out, if you've ever tried it, and what you feel are your results. Um, Otherwise, yeah, I guess just put it in your arsenal of like things that you know help if and when anything in your life goes awry. So, again, all love and light, my friends. Thank you again for tuning in and tune in next week as we continue our journey of the chakras. We're at the heart chakra next. So, I'm really excited to dive deep into this. We are in the fall here in the Northern Hemisphere. We're right around Halloween. And so, just a very fun time of year. So, I hope you're embracing it. Um, Happy Scorpio season, and I will talk to you all soon.